Hi, welcome to Woodbury's Carpool Movie Critique, where Kelley, Remi, James, and I each week see a new movie, carpool home, and talk about it. This week, we saw The Shape of Water.
I thought it was actually a really great film in that it succeeds in everything it's trying to be, and that's how I define success in a movie. So when you read what Guillermo del Toro said he was trying to do, you see quickly that he was trying to make an adult fairy tale. I mean, it's a Guillermo del Toro movie, so yes. That on top of it crosses the different movie genres. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Why is it a good fairy tale? It's a good fairy tale because, as with any good fairy tale, it starts with a narrator talking about a princess. It's a good fairy tale because it talks about an impossible relationship between two characters. It's a good fairy tale in the sense that it also has a happy ending. It's a good fairy tale because good triumphs over evil. Now, is it a good Guillermo del Toro fairy tale? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It centers around a female character, which is what it always does, and it crosses different genres, just like in Pan's Labyrinth. Here, it's even more ambitious than Pan's Labyrinth in the sense that it tries to be a musical, a comedy, a spy thriller, and more. And it does it actually somewhat seamlessly. It's not perfect, and it's not always, especially with the spy thriller piece. I do understand that maybe that doesn't bring too much to the story, even though it brings some kind of an atmosphere that's interesting, and with all of the production design, it actually fit quite well. So to me, it's a good fairy tale. It's a good Guillermo del Toro fairy tale, and the way it was carried out shows that it deserves all of the praise it has had. And I know people don't agree with that in the car, and we will see that very soon. The reason I say that is because at every single department in the movie, you have talent. You have success in the ambition that was put forth by Guillermo del Toro, and that's actually extremely impressive. Look at the cinematography. Wow.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Look at the production design with all of the green colors for Sally Hawkins' apartment. Her character's name is Eliza, I can't remember. Eliza, there we go. It's green with some green and blue / cyan with some shades of gold and some warmth into the water, which obviously shows things about her relationship with the creature. The music from Alexandre Desplat is amazing. The cast is doing an amazing job. All around, well done. And I'll let you talk now.
Well, I mean, okay, I can see some of the stuff that you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think as far as a Guillermo del Toro film goes, it was disappointing. I mean, he wrote and directed Pan's Labyrinth, which was,
Correct.
In the same vein. It's a fairy tale. It centers around a female character, but it had some newness to it. There's nothing new about this.
That's not true.
And I was waiting for the creepiness because he produced The Orphanage, he produced Mama, which I adored both of those, and it didn't go far enough in any of the directions that I know him to go in.
Right,
it wasn't creepy enough. It wasn't funny enough. It had the whimsy, but it's like, okay, they took a boring fable and then put some French whimsy on top of it.
It's absolutely true. No,
yeah.
you are saying Guillermo del Toro movies are actually not creepy. All the examples you are giving are production examples, nothing that he created himself. So
Didn't he
you
do
cannot
all of
say he was an executive producer. He was just he was an executive producer, but he didn't write the movies. He was not in the production design too much. In this movie, he was involved, and same with Pan's Labyrinth, he was involved from start to finish. That's why it's a good Guillermo del Toro. Maybe you prefer Guillermo del Toro as an executive producer.
And
Maybe
I
I do.
Yeah, maybe we When I think about Guillermo del Toro before this, I think about the orphanage, and he actually wasn't that involved in the.
He was
overseeing.
involved, but he was as an executive, not as a creator, too much at least.
Well, I don't really think that this was much better than Crimson Peak, to be honest.
That was a lot better, and it's, in my opinion, it was even better than Pan's Labyrinth.
You gotta substantiate
Yes,
that for me. You gotta substantiate
you
that
can't just
for
say
me.
that.
In 2 weeks, I will have forgotten that I ever saw this movie.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding.
You have a problem with talent or something?
I think
was it?
I think all the actors are talented. I think everything is solid, but it's forgettable. And well, okay.
In the sense that I can barely remember anything about
Let's
it.
talk about Octavia Spencer for a moment. Okay?
Yes, let's just
What
consider
a waste of talent.
Yes, an absolute
Putting
acting.
her in the black sidekick role. She's amazing. And she was just like the sidekick. I'm so disappointed in
But
that.
she was an amazing sidekick. How would you
With
have
her-
highlighted her more in this film?
I disagree. She even has her own side story. You see some
With her
background.
husband?
Yeah, you see
Piddly.
background.
A
Exactly.
piddly side story.
Well, it's a side story. You're not supposed to go too deep into it. That's the definition of it.
Yeah, there wasn't
That's
enough
why-
time to go deep.
Yeah, and I think just in terms of the visual and the tone, they don't make too many films like these anymore, and that's too bad.
Good.
To me, it actually reminds me of the movies from Jean-Pierre Jeunet, like Amélie, like Delicatessen, in the
Absolutely.
visuals.
That's what I mean.
And
Thank God.
actually finding the beauty in the not so beautiful is
Yeah,
actually
but
amazing. It's
we
the
can see
definition of
that in Beauty and the
poetry. It's the
Beast.
definition
We
of
can see that
art.
in like Ferngully. We can see that in Avatar. We've seen that a million
You can see
times.
that in the fucking mirror.
You're just citing fantasy movies.
Yeah, it basically is just a fantasy movie that I will forget in 2 weeks. Do you know, I checked my watch 3 times in the film. 3 times. I was so bored.
Oh, come on. Well,
All right, Kelley,
Yeah.
you've got some stuff to say.
Yeah.
Tell us about the monster.
All right, yeah, let's segue into the monster. Charlie, the asset. Another appearance of Doug Jones in a Del Toro film. So he's played 5 previous monsters, and this Indiana native he started out as a contortionist. And
That does not surprise me.
yeah.
well, and this monster, I don't know, if you don't like anything else about the film, I hope that you can see the beauty in this monster. And let me just bring to light a couple of things. So, he's beautiful in the fact that he's so healing. Not only does he heal Eliza's character emotionally, so she finally feels like she's not an outsider, that she's being seen for who she is, not her disability. He heals Giles of his hair loss. He heals himself after he's completely prodded and beaten, and I mean, no wonder the Amazons think that he's a god, or maybe he is a god, I don't know. But he's so human-like and relatable. Obviously, that's because he's played by Doug Jones, who is a human, and they used we think, not entirely sure, but they used 4 different suits in the production of the film, and really focused on prosthetics and what they could do with makeup, versus there was some digital enhancement, but they didn't do CGI, and I really appreciated Del Toro's choice in that.
Me too, that was great.
And he was just so, like, you could see veins, you could see folds of skins. It was so dimensional and dynamic and beautiful.
Oh, I'd agree with all that.
And if we're going back to colors that Remi brought up, so he is green, which throughout the film there's that undertone of green is the color of the future. Remember when Giles is painting the Jell-O? And they make him change the color of the Jell-O to green because we're looking forward. So that
It's also like the Cadillac scene as
the
well.
Cadillac, if we take that color and we go into Eliza's room, as Remi said, it's got those green, blue, monstery undertone colors, the future of the acceptance of love, and then Giles' room, which is almost like an extension of Eliza's room in that same apartment complex, has more of those gold undertones. So you see the separation, but the similarities. I don't know. I think the monster was just sensational, and the blinking or that
that was cool.
the eyes, the
That was
That was cool. And you know, the thing is, we're not disputing that there were good parts to the movie, but like overall, it's just not an Oscar movie, right, James? I mean, you talk about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I probably wouldn't have nominated this for any of the Oscars it was nominated for.
that.
Oh, come on. I mean, Best Picture, absolutely not. I mean, there's nothing stand out about it versus a few of the other Best Picture nominations this year. Nothing really new, exciting, special, interesting. Yeah, it's just an average, confused retelling of, I don't know, Beauty and the Beast crossed with E.T. and some other contrived...
You know, the only thing that I really saw as original in this was the fact that they had a female character masturbating and it wasn't a big deal. That was the only thing that was like, they're just like making that not a big deal. That's cool.
That's great and everything, but I do appreciate Sally Hawkins very much. I'm very, very glad that she's, getting some recognition and she's, blossoming into like a truly great actress, but I don't think she deserves Best Actress for learning ASL and having an overacted masturbating finger.
There's a lot of punchlines, but I disagree. About the newness, even like you say, it's Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, except for at the end, it's one of the only Beauty and the Beast stories where the Beast doesn't have to change into something different.
Right.
It's the love for the other. Here's the newness.
Counter how the ending of this movie is shit. First of all, the thing can't die, and anything that he touches lives. So where's the drama? There's absolutely no drama at all. Oh wait, he might get killed. Oh no, he can't get killed ever. It's totally fine. Why are we even worried about them killing him?
Oh, but she can get killed. She can get killed. Oh wait. Oh no, wait. She can't get killed either because
he loves her and he'll touch her.
Yeah,
His open weird up penis thing will make everything better.
That's the whole plot.
If he's out of too water,
there's
if he's
no
out of water too long, he'll go into shock and he'll die.
Yeah.
Or so we're told.
Based on the creature of the Black Lagoon, which Del Toro was pulling upon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's that new.
The creature of the Black Lagoon isn't in the movie.
In the creature of the Black Lagoon, she doesn't get to be with the creature in the end, and that's exactly what Del Toro wanted to change.
So that's the only thing that's new.
It's not the only
It's
thing.
basically the only thing. Okay, moving on. Richard Jenkins, he's a fine actor.
Yes.
It was an interesting spin on the gay best friend, but do I think it's best supporting actor material? Nope. Octavia Spencer, basically the only part of that movie I enjoyed. Again, I just find it such a shame that she was relegated to the black best friend.
Yep.
She's worth so much more than that.
Did you want her to be the mute lead? Like, what would you have done differently?
I would have changed the entire movie just to make it about Octavia Spencer.
If she was the creature and it was a lesbian relationship, I might say that that's interesting. That's new.
Okay. I do think she deserves some sort of Oscar, though, because she deserves some sort of apology for being forced into that. Best Director, Guillermo del Toro. I mean, there were some okay performances, I guess, but I'm putting that down to the cast. Musical score, there was nothing interesting about that whatsoever.
Oh, come on.
Music, what have I heard in that soundtrack that was different to any other fantasy soundtrack ever?
It's not a question of the biggest fantasy ever. It just does what it's supposed to be doing.
I mean, did it move
It
me?
augments the film.
Yeah, it
Did
was
it?
moving. I'm sorry, it was moving.
Okay.
Maybe you guys don't like romance. I don't know.
Oh, I just like good music. Best original screenplay. Was it original? Not really sure about that, seeing as all the themes were tired and used.
And there has been an accusation.
There's been a few accusations of plagiarism because the entire plot almost mirrors a 1969 play about a woman falling in love with a dolphin. Look it up.
Yeah, we don't have to go into the details, but look it up.
So now every love story is plagiarism.
There are some remarkably similar themes, like why are these two aquatic creatures being experimented on? The relationship between the introverted female character and the aquatic creature, and how they both try and make them escape. Whatever, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Best cinematography, It was fine. Would I call it best?
Oh, come
It was
on.
beautiful.
Seriously, that's going too far.
It's fine. I mean, I wouldn't give an Oscar for it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we're not saying it was a
Deadly.
bad movie.
Yeah, I'm not
It's
saying
just
it was
not an
bad.
Oscar
Okay,
movie.
what other movie nominated for cinematography had better cinematography?
Honestly,
Just
I
name
don't
one.
think it's been a terribly good year, so
Oh.
I have a funny feeling this is going to walk away with it, among a few other things.
Okay.
Best film editing, again, editing was fine, but nothing stand out. Best costume design, okay, admittedly, Charlie, the monster,
Charlie.
very fucking cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
It was definitely a beautifully updated version of the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, the colours used for him were beautiful, and you got that incandescent blue glowingness that comes out of him, which is stunning.
And I do
Admittedly,
appreciate
I
the
will say
limited CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was really
that
good.
was great.
Especially even in the opening scene. Sorry, I let you talk. Go for it.
Sound mixing, production design, sound editing, yeah. I don't know why this received so much hype, because the movie, for me, didn't seem to know what it was trying to be. If it was trying to be an adult fairy tale, it was too much of a fairy tale and not adult enough.
And the narration beginning and end did not cap it for me.
Yeah, I just found
I see that.
that
I
just...
agree with that.
If you're trying to do a fairy tale, please, no, stop opening it and ending it with narration.
And if you're going to do that,
done.
if you're going to do that, commit all the way. And
Yeah.
they didn't. It was just tacked on to the front and the end.
It was
I agree with
just,
that.
I don't know, that whole thing just felt rather unnecessary and pretentious. And no, I'm sorry, inserting French whimsical music and French whimsical cinematography into a film does not equal an Oscar! Stop it!
Okay,
The
okay.
music was made by a Frenchman, but the score
Always.
was not French.
Yeah,
the cinematography was from a Danish. But by the
Yeah,
way,
but do you
it's
not
also
see what they were trying to emulate through
put
the
it
entire
on.
film? Oh,
It's
look,
the
we're
beauty
trying...
of nostalgia. That's
Oh my
that's beauty.
god,
I'm
that
sorry
doesn't
that you don't like
mean
beauty.
you get an
All
Oscar.
right,
No,
guys.
I'm referencing something we
Guys.
used to do 50 years ago. Give
Guys,
me an
all
Oscar,
right.
please.
It's a
All
lot
right,
more
all right.
ambitious than
It's
that.
time for the envelope. Kelley.
I have the envelope. So, this time around, all of us have put our ratings into the envelope ahead of time, and I will go ahead and reveal those ratings.
Who's that?
First of all, we have Remi's.
So, just because I think it was overly ambitious and it was done really, really well, I'll give it a very high mark. Again, talking about other details like the narrator and all that, I will not give it 5, so I give it a strong 4.75. 4 and 3 quarters.
Whoa.
Breaking
and
his
three
own
quarters.
Never going above 4.5.
No, never going to 5 is my rule.
Okay, all right.
Next.
Next, we have Amanda. And do you want me to read it?
Yeah, okay,
Driving.
so one tiny thing. I thought it was a solid movie all around, not Oscar worthy, so I gave it.
She gave it 3 bored B's.
I was bored.
Oh my god.
All right, Kelley, myself, I gave it, I think, as you've seen, I really, really enjoyed the film. I gave it 4.5 B's. And for those of you who have seen our previous Carpool Movie Critiques, you'll note that I gave 3 billboards, 5 full B's, because that film moved me more emotionally than this one did, but this I felt was beautiful beyond belief. And finally, we have James' verdict. And I'm just going to hand that one off to you.
Oh, show it to the camera. You made a little drawing. That's pretty cool.
I gave it 3 out of 5 because it was fine. It was a movie that I didn't hate. And I also drew a sheep.
Because it put us to sleep. Oh! Well, that's it for our Carpool Movie Critique this week. Tune in
Hopefully
next
we'll
week.
watch something better next week.
Tune in next week
You
for a
won't.
brand
There's
new
nothing
one.
better this year.
Yay!
Bye, guys!